If you spend enough time around horses, you eventually learn something difficult. No matter how powerful they look, horses can be unbelievably fragile. An animal strong enough to carry riders for miles, survive harsh weather, and run across open land can suddenly be brought to the edge of death by something microscopic. And that is exactly what happened to a former wild Mustang named Magic. For 39 days, Magic fought for her life inside the UC Davis Large Animal Hospital after developing one of the deadliest neurological diseases horses can face, botulism. She lost the ability to swallow properly, she became dangerously weak, and eventually she could not even stand on her own. According to her veterinarians, if treatment had just started one day later, she likely would have not survived. But somehow, against the odds, this horse survived. What makes Magic's story so emotional is not just the recovery itself. It is the terrifying reality of botulism in horses. This disease does not attack through dramatic injuries or visible trauma. Instead, it silently shuts the body down from the inside out. Muscles weaken one by one. The nervous system begins to fail. Basic functions like chewing, swallowing, standing, and even breathing slowly stop working. By the time symptoms become obvious, horses are often already critically ill. Before the hospital and before the terrifying diagnosis, Magic was a wild horse living in Idaho. Back in 2016, the massive soda fire burned through more than 279,000 acres of land and destroyed huge areas of habitat used by wild Mustangs. Hundreds of horses suddenly faced starvation because there was almost nothing left for them to eat. To save them, the Bureau of Land Management rounded up 279 horses from the affected region, mare who would later become known as Magic. Think about that for a moment. This horse had already survived wildfire, displacement, and the stress of being removed from the wild. Eventually, Magic was adopted by Tiffany Tarbett in Northern California. Over time, she adjusted to domestic life and finally found a safe and stable home. For years, everything appeared normal. She seemed healthy, happy, and settled into her new life. Then suddenly, everything changed. One of the scariest things about botulism is that early symptoms can seem vague and unrelated. At first, Magic experienced 2 bouts of colic within a month, and there was a concern that she might also have stomach ulcers. Most horses hear the word colic and immediately think about digestive problems, because colic itself is already one of the most dangerous emergencies horses can experience. But botulism can initially resemble digestive illness because effective horses often struggle to chew and swallow normally. Feed may move abnormally through the digestive tract. Appetite changes can occur, and horses may appear weak or uncomfortable before neurological signs become obvious. Then, one day, Tiffany found Magic frothing at the mouth and behaving strangely. She immediately knew something was seriously wrong and contacted the UC Davis Equine Veterinary Hospital, who had previously treated Magic. Thankfully, they acted quickly and sent the mare to the large animal hospital for emergency care. Once veterinarians examined Magic, they became deeply concerned. She struggled to move her tongue, she had difficulty swallowing, her muscles were weak, her neck hung low, and her body trembled. The veterinary team immediately suspected botulism. In horses, that diagnosis is terrifying. Botulism is a neurological disease caused by toxins produced by a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. The bacteria itself is dangerous, but the real threat comes from the toxin it creates. Botulinum toxin is one of the most powerful biological toxins known to science. Tiny amounts are capable of shutting down communication between nerve and muscles. To understand why botulism is so deadly, it helps to understand how muscles normally function. Every time a horse moves, swallows, blinks, or breathes, nerves send chemical signals to muscles. One of the most important chemicals involved in this process is called acetylcholine. Normally, nerves release acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction, which is the tiny connection point between nerves and muscles. That chemical signal tells the muscles to contract. Botulinum toxins block the release of acetylcholine. The nerves try to send the signal, but the muscles never receives it. The result is paralysis. What makes botulism especially horrifying is that the paralysis often progresses gradually. At first, horses may simply appear weak. Then swallowing becomes difficult. Their eyelids may droop, their tongue becomes weak, and their neck lowers. Eventually, the horse may become unable to stand. In severe cases, the muscles responsible for breathing begin to fail, and that is often what kills them. Horses are actually one of the animal species most sensitive to botulinum toxin. Scientists still do not fully understand why horses are so vulnerable compared to some other animals, but even tiny amounts of toxin can devastate the species. There are several ways horses can develop botulism. The most common is ingestion of contaminated feed. If hay, grain, silage, or water becomes contaminated with decomposing organic material containing Clostridium botulinum, toxin production can occur. Sometimes, even a small dead animal in hay can contaminate feed with dangerous toxins. Foals can also develop a condition called Shaker-Foal syndrome, where the bacteria colonizes the intestinal tract and produces toxins internally. Adult horses may develop wound botulism if bacteria infects deep wounds and begins producing toxins there. In Magic's case, veterinarians suspect that the botulism was inside her gastrointestinal tract. That is one reason the disease can be so difficult to identify early. By the time neurological symptoms appear, the toxins may already be affecting the nervous system. One of the most important things to understand about botulism treatment is that the antitoxin does not reverse paralysis that has already happened. That is critical. The antitoxin only neutralizes toxin molecules that are still circulating in the bloodstream before they attach to nerve endings. Once the toxin binds to nerves, the body slowly must regenerate those nerve connections over time. That process can take weeks or even months. This is why timing matters so much. According to Magic's owners, veterinarians later told her something chilling. If we had waited one more day later for treatment, Magic would have died. One more day. That statement alone shows how rapidly botulism can progress. Not long after arriving at UC Davis, Magic deteriorated further. She became too weak to stand on her own. For horses, prolonged recumbency is incredibly dangerous. Horses are not designed to remain lying down for long periods because their body weight compresses muscles and restricts blood flow. Secondary complications like muscle damage, respiratory problems, pressure sores, and organ dysfunction can quickly develop. To keep Magic alive, the UC Davis team used a massive device called the Large Animal Lift. This enormous pulley system is designed to physically support horses that cannot rise independently. For days, veterinarians and technicians had to help Magic stand manually. Dr. Emily Berryhill later explained that during the first 2 weeks, Magic required daily lifting and rotating, feeding through a nasogastric tube, urinary catheterization, and constant monitoring around the clock. This was full equine intensive care, 24 hours a day, for over a month. One of the cruelest parts of botulism is how slow recovery can be. Even after toxin exposure stops, nerves must regenerate their ability to communicate with muscles again. That process cannot be rushed. Horses often lose enormous amounts of muscle mass during hospitalization because weakness prevents normal movement and eating. Magic reportedly lost significant weight and muscle during her illness, but slowly, little by little, she improved. Then, during the 4th week of hospitalization, something incredible happened. Magic stood on her own. No lift, no support, just her own strength. After everything she had endured, she was finally standing by herself again. After 39 days in the hospital, veterinarians finally believed Magic was stable enough to continue recovering at home. Even then, recovery was far from over. According to Tiffany, it took nearly 4 months for Magic to fully regain her weight, muscle, and strength. Then came the moment everyone had hoped for. Once Magic was healthy enough to return to pasture, she began running around excitedly and neighing happily. Just imagine seeing that after weeks of uncertainty, a horse who could once not even stand was suddenly running freely again. Stories like this remind people just how fragile horses can be, but they also remind us how unbelievably resilient they are. Magic survived wildfire, displacement as a wild Mustang, and then she survived one of the deadliest neurological diseases in equine medicine. But this story also highlights something critically important for horse owners everywhere. Botulism can progress extremely quickly. Weakness, trouble swallowing, drooping eyelids, trembling, abnormal posture, or difficulty in eating should always be treated seriously, because rapid veterinary intervention can mean the difference between life and death. In Magic's case, one day made the difference between survival and tragedy. And today, because people acted quickly and refused to give up on her, this former wild Mustang is alive, healthy, and finally back where she belongs. Thank you for joining us. And remember, I am not AI.